So we're going to get started with the formal program. We are so glad that you're here to the Make It Big webinar series with football star James Develin, who's also an innovative designer. And this whole series, which is presented by Autodesk, is situated also within a series of contests that we're going to talk to you about tonight that students can enter. And they also kind of are all woven together with James's story in reimagining reimagining what's possible in his next step in his career. So James Develin, who you'll meet in a minute, retired from the NFL last year. And this whole series is about his next stage in life and how you can help him rethink the built environment in order to do things like making it more inclusive and better for the environment and better for the community. So he'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. But before we begin, I also just want to thank our wonderful contributors to this episode of the Make It Big webinar series. We are joined tonight by representatives from the Northeast Center for Tradeswomen's Equity, also our friends at Gilbane Building Company, and the Wentworth Institute of Technology, which has joined us for several of these episodes at this point. So again, this is episode 6. This episode is titled Ask a Builder, and this webinar series is presented by Autodesk. So we also want to make sure that this is as conversational as possible, particularly this episode where you have the opportunity to actually ask people who are builders or even ask James as you're working on your contest as well, or even if you're just interested in what they have to say about their careers and their career paths. So because you are students, we want to make sure that we protect your privacy. So you will notice that the chat, so you'll see 3 icons at the bottom of the screen. The chat is disabled to an extent in which you can't chat with each other, but you can chat with us. So one of the real human beings that you're going to be chatting with tonight, it happens to be the adult human in this adorable photo, is Matthew Dalton. He's the community manager for Autodesk Education. We are also joined tonight by Daria Zhao, who is the youth marketing manager for Autodesk Education. So do know when you're chatting with us, you're chatting with real humans who are interested in what you have to say and quite capable of answering your questions as well. And last but not least, you've already heard from Jenny, but I wanted to give Jenny Fennell the opportunity to introduce herself and say hello.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Jenny. And Jenny is the content development manager for Autodesk Education. And then there's me. So my name is Kellyanne Mahoney. I'm a youth program specialist at Autodesk. Prior to joining Autodesk, working on the construction team, but also very closely with our friends on the education team at Autodesk, I was a teacher in the Boston Public Schools for 13 years. I also just wanted to acknowledge Heather Lech. She is not able to be with us tonight, but I just wanted to thank her for her contribution to this series. And for those of you who haven't checked out previous episodes, you should see all the awesome demonstrations that Heather has done for students in Formit, which is a conceptual architecture tool that is free to students and teachers. I'll show you how you can access that. And she's not able to be with us tonight, but she just wanted us to say hi to you for her. And last but not least, I want to introduce James Develin. So James, you want to say hi to the students and talk a little bit more about your project?
Sure. Hey, everybody, I'm James Develin. Thank you, Kellyanne, for that introduction. Yeah, so I played in the NFL for the last 10 years. Well, I guess, yeah, 11 years, and then I retired almost a year ago exactly. And before that, I was an engineer. I studied mechanical engineering at Brown University, and that's kind of my connection here. So I've been lucky enough to partner with Autodesk and running this webinar series to try to, promote the STEM programs and the sciences behind, actually, building and constructing ideas. So that kind of brings me to right now, and I'm starting, kind of on the precipice of my entrepreneurial ventures. I'd like to design and really kind of build a all-encompassing sports performance and sports rehab recovery center. That is my overall goal. That's something I've always had a huge passion for. So really, Autodesk has been a great relationship to kind of open my eyes to so much of the field that I had a little bit of experience from college in, but really now just kind of, seeing the actual application of these programs that I used a little bit, and learning Format from Heather, and Plan Grid and Build from Pete, and it's been eye-opening, and it's been just awesome to see the actual applicable uses for these things. And so I'm really excited for the presentation today. Myself in a couple construction projects right now. At my house I'm kind of having remodeled right now in Pennsylvania. So it's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to tonight, and then looking forward to everyone's entries in the challenge we have going on. So thanks for joining us tonight, and really looking forward to it.
Thanks so much, James, and thanks for being such a great inspiration to students, and also just being so encouraging to students and giving feedback on their designs. So we hope that in the future, when you enter the contest, that maybe you can hear from James about what he thinks about your design. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. We also are going to have our wonderful panel of builders who are going to be here to talk to you about their paths into the construction industry. And one of the things that I think is so wonderful about this panel is not just the ways that they've found their way into the construction industry, but also that they're continuing to learn and grow, and even kind of mold the industry kind of in their future and their vision. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a bit. There are some takeaways that we hope that you take away from this episode, which is one, that you find out how college students are applying principles of affordable housing to build a better world. You also will meet construction professionals who will share their personal stories and visions for the future. And you will also have a chance to ask questions to help your Make It Real Student Design Challenge a success. So if you're just joining us, that's great. This is actually the last episode in the series, which makes me sad, but also really happy at all the awesome work that students have produced so far in this journey from architecture into engineering, and then lastly, landing in construction, where we are now. And one of the themes throughout this series is thinking about how increasingly people in the architecture, engineering, and construction industry are increasingly being asked to even collaborate more closely on projects, and how they're using technology in order to do that as well. So I'm really excited to welcome tonight our guest, Trevor Salvini, who really kind of encompasses this multidisciplinary spirit in the construction industry. Trevor did his undergraduate and graduate studies in architecture at Wentworth. He also just recently received his Master of Architecture degree in May 2021, which is the month we're in right now. So congratulations, Trevor, on that. The work he will present this evening is part of a graduate seminar on affordable housing that his amazing professor, Ann Borst, teaches every spring at Wentworth. As part of this course, students participate in the Affordable Housing Development Competition, in which students from Boston area schools work as multidisciplinary teams, combining their expertise in architecture, urban design, planning, real estate, public health, and more. These teams are paired with nonprofit developers who work together on projects currently under study, and they produce highly detailed development proposals. Also, the work that Trevor is about to present was awarded second place in this year's competition. So at this point, without further ado, I would like to hand over the mic and the screen to Trevor.
Thank you, Kellyanne. So again, just to look at an introduction to a little bit about our competition. In this year's Affordable Housing Development Competition, we worked with students from Wentworth, Harvard, MIT, and Tufts as well to work with and develop a proposal paired with a nonprofit developer, Avesta. Together, we worked and selected a project in Portland, Maine, currently under study, and produced a comprehensive proposal with the help of advisors and professors from our specific fields. Looking at Portland, both historically and current, you can see a long history of brick and masonry construction throughout the city, as well as historical industrial use. It's allowed gentrification, and it's brought new community members from all around the world to the districts around Portland. As rent increases and new development comes to the area, the need for affordable units rises as well. talking to some of the community members around, Georges Budagu Makako said, having an affordable place to live is fundamental when you are a new Mainer. You have to stay somewhere to start building up your life again. And pictured to the right is what's going on in Portland recently as these new developments have moved into the area. There's been a large growing of a homelessness population. Looking at some of the target demographics and market dynamics of who we expected to move into the area and what kind of existing infrastructure was going on around the West End. The gap between median renters' income and housing cost has increased dramatically over the last 3 years, meaning more and more people are in need of affordable units and rent in urban areas. In Portland, this is especially the case. With an already established network of service providers in the area, Avesta was looking to grow and redevelop their office space on Cumberland Ave into a densely populated but welcoming structure, adding to the fastly growing West End. And then looking at some of the established infrastructure that's going on in the area to provide some community rigidity. And then looking closer at Avesta's current site, it's an old industrial brick building that really doesn't utilize the site too well. Looking again at in plan and another view just to see its site parameters. There's an unactivated and dark alleyway between the existing Salvation Army building and the current site that makes it an unused footpath and an unwelcoming site, while the current structure meets the site limits along its current parameters, which makes a dense construction and again unwelcoming to pedestrians walking along the area. So the design problem was, how can we work with Avesta to develop their housing office and the rest of the site into a welcoming and inclusive new member of the community and block. While these were our key factors that contributed to our design outlook, a high number of immigrants and new Mainers are in need of homes in the area, and how can design or high quality designs be provided while also keeping overall costs low to keep the development affordable? How high rate of homelessness and use of public amenities like the Salvation Army and communal food drives in the area have reduced foot traffic and walkability in the area? How can the design bring people back and allow them to feel safe around their homes? And as the district redevelops, how can a new, healthy, and sustainable building type be introduced to the historical industrial brick typology of the West End? So our proposed solution was to incorporate these three factors below while also allowing the resident to become the key driver of decision-making. Environmentally sustainable, maximizing natural and passive resource collection to mitigate daily operation costs. For example, solar, wind, and water collection. Community engagement, positioning the community and user as the key driver within design choices. For example, all public amenities like roof gardens, community rooms, and outdoor patios become fully accessible. And financial flexibility, responsible design choices carefully considering the client's budget. For example, using locally sourced and low-cost materials instead of importing or custom-built elements. This is just a look at a perspective of our development, as well as some of the stats, I guess, about the development, looking at how we tried to re-densify the plot with adding lots of new units, 11 studio apartments, 43 one-bedrooms, 39 two-beds, and 7 three-beds, as well as providing market rate and lots of affordable unit rents, which was the goal of the development. And then some of these community spaces that we'll look at in a second. Again, talking to the same person as earlier, when people start mixing and mingling in common spaces, they will feel included. Both new Mainers and long-term Mainers have much to offer each other. So by incorporating the discussions with the community, as well as Portland's outlook as how they want to redevelop the city into a healthy, livable, active, and vibrant city, we wanted these characteristics to be shown in the design. So by healthy city, they want something that can reduce carbon emissions, keep the overall environmental impact of the building low. A livable city, somewhere that people can move in and not want to have to move out after a few years, somewhere they can call home. And an active city, promoting alternate means of transportation like biking and promoting walking, or in this case, allowing for a bus stop on our site, and a vibrant city, using colors and incorporating a lot of greenery to allow for a much more characteristic building type compared to the industrial quality brick. Looking closer at some of these, just maximizing natural sunlight, utilizing existing wind patterns, and collecting and retaining water. Environmental sustainability was a huge core focus of our design, with units designed to meet passive house requirements and enough solar and catchment area to reduce building energy requirements up to 35%, as well as a rainwater cistern system to decrease water and sewage costs. Garden boxes on the roof are provided and fed from this passive water collection, and provide locally sourced food for the residents as well. And to provide adequate natural light to some of the units, well, to all of the units, apartment depth was kept to 30 feet. And as each bedroom and living room needs natural lighting, we placed larger bedrooms on the corners along Cumberland here, and in the back along the south side of the site. This is just a section looking at how we're depicting some of these environmental impacts, looking at semi-permeable hardscaping along a lot of the landscaping, this roof gardening system that's utilizing the same rainwater retention, and then promoting alternate means of transportation, like providing bike parking and again, in increasingly urban areas like Uber, Lyft, things that already have cars in the area. And then looking at how can you engage the community with your design. And we really wanted to connect major programs and elements from street to roof and allow community members and residents to gain access to the public amenities, create spaces of socialization and interaction between users. So you can see that in the parklet and these community rooms and roof gardens, spaces of social interaction of all times of the year. And then provide green open spaces to all community members. So non-residents even gain the opportunity to come and utilize this space, which in this case, with the high school neighboring just down the street, there's a high potential for a lot of users to utilize this space, which was once unactivated. And then again, just looking further at community engagement with some of these elements with the rooftop gardens, the community rooms, urban connectivity, and again, just providing some of these bus stops. We envisioned even spaces being flexible with your design. So knowing that how you envision spaces may not be how they are overall used, but allowing for the spaces to be flexible. So things like farmers markets, food trucks, and other small events can happen in what you envision the space as well. And then looking at how the green parklet utilized semi-permeable hardscaping, native planting, and the use of bioswales for water retention can also be seen. And then the importance of design process and flexibility, and how you communicate your ideas early on in design and simplify your proposal, and staying proactive during your timeline. Communicate your ideas early. The earlier you begin to work towards refining grand ideas and producing multiple iterations, the earlier you can begin to think about things like materiality, constructability, and functionality. This allows insight from other team members, the client, and yourself. Simplify your proposal. The most successful proposals focus on one or two specific key elements. It helps not to get lost within an infinite amount of design choices, using these key factors as the driving force for your decisions. In our case, the resident became the shaping force of our decisions. Stay proactive during the timeline. A design is never complete, so it helps to always consider other perspectives while designing. For example, is this design element constructible? Does it compromise the structural integrity in any way? How will you heat and cool your spaces? Or there is always room to further refine your design. Stay proactive. This is just looking at some AutoCAD iterations we had done of the early design process to the final design iteration. Final in quotes, of course, looking at how the early ideas of these courtyard spaces maintained throughout the iterations, as we had to stay flexible with the finance team to accommodate the right amount of units and the right amount of space to all of the program within the space, just to make sure everything was overall functioning right, but still maintaining these core ideas that we had very early on. And then overall, again, just looking back on some of these perspectives and the overall design. Thank you. Thank you for your time and attention, and good luck with your own proposals.
Thank you so much, Trevor. I'm so blown away by your presentation, and just like that you're just in it, like you just did this this project just recently, right? For your master's.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. I love how you showed that affordable housing, can still be beautiful. It can still be healthy. I love how you really designed with the community rather than designed for the community. You did all this like placemaking, exercises, really interviewing and listening. I loved how clever, like that you showed that a building can be environmentally sustainable, but at the same time can still be affordable as well. It can actually make the building more affordable. And also just how you showed that buildings can promote public health through design, the way that you showed the parklet and the roof garden and the bike parking. So it's just such a great example for students as they're thinking about building their designs for this contest and thinking about how to build them, that they don't need to take away the beauty and the public health in order to make it affordable. So I'm wondering, Jenny, are there any questions from the students for Trevor?
I'm not seeing any questions specifically for Trevor at this time. Yeah, we haven't had any quite yet.
Trevor, what was your favorite part of doing this project?
Well, despite it being during the decline of COVID, it was definitely difficult to work and collaborate. And the biggest key to the success of a project is communication. And it was definitely difficult, but it was great to overcome that challenge and to be able to work not only through all of these different interdisciplinary departments and work with financing and think about, I personally live with some engineers, so to work with some engineers with the design aspects and think about the urban planning principles and how it's going to be used in the future and how it can reflect the past. I think it was a great experience just to be able to come full circle and to be able to give that experience and show that experience here. Hopefully it's insightful and it is some good ideas came out of it for some students here.
Jenny, any questions from the students?
No, but I just put out a reminder that they can submit questions either in the chat or in the Q&A.
Also, feel free to contact me at the email provided. I'm frequently checking my email and I'm happy to assist with anything that comes up.
One of the terms that you use, Trevor, and I know it's probably a whole course at Wentworth, but you'd said the word passive house. Could you in a quick and easy way explaining what that means? Yeah,
so along the same lines as LEED, it's a super environmentally friendly way of, or principle set of designing. You can read about it online, very accessible. They're working to get certified at the same level of LEED, but there's a set of principles that you could follow that give you a step-by-step of what you can consider to keep functionality of the building quality while also maintaining a great quality of life for the resident or the user inside, depending on the building type.
Thank you, Trevor. I didn't mean to pop quiz you on that, but it's a really important concept for students to understand.
It definitely is.
So if you have any questions for Trevor, you can send him an email. His email address is here. But we want to move along with the program. Jenny, was there any other questions?
I'm not seeing anything specific at this time, but I will definitely chime in if any come up.
Well, your presentation was so thorough, Trevor, that it left no questions. Although I'm sure that they will think of them later and email you. Thank you so much, Trevor. That was
Of
really,
course.
Thank
really
you.
interesting and really beautiful too. The slides were really pretty. So next up, we are going to start our panel. So this is our panel of builders. So do keep in mind that after the panel, you will have the opportunity to ask questions to the builders. So start thinking of them now, and you can tell us about your questions to them in the question and answer would be the best place to put them. So first off, I just wanted to start introducing our panelists. So first is Dr. Fope Badamasi, who is an educator, a BIM, so Building Information Model, and virtual design and construction. That was my, my pop quiz on the acronyms, specialist at Wentworth Institute of Technology. So she is going to be here with us tonight. Dr. Fope is a construction manager by training with 8 years experience in the industry. Fope is a construction technology enthusiast who is passionate about using innovative technologies to improve construction processes. She received her PhD in design, construction, and planning with a construction management concentration from the University of Florida in 2019. She was a graduate research and teaching assistant at the Center for Advanced Construction Information Modeling through her doctoral journey, where she also worked with the Autodesk Education Experiences team on several projects. She is also an educator and has been helping others learn how to digitize their construction workflows for the past 4 years. Currently, she is an assistant professor in the construction management department at Wentworth. And she's going to talk a little bit more also about some of her research areas because she is really a technology enthusiast. Next up, we have Savi Francis, who is a pipe fitter in Boston's Pipe Fitters Local Union 537. Savi joined her union 8 years ago and currently works for Cox Engineering. Born in Dallas, Texas, she was raised in Boston, Massachusetts, where she attended the Boston Public Schools. Coming from a family of union tradespeople, Savi worked in healthcare for many years, but found her calling to her profession in 2012 through a pre-apprenticeship program called Building Pathways. Upon completion of the pre-apprenticeship in 2013, Savi decided to make Local 537 her career. In April 2018, she graduated from her apprenticeship, and 2 weeks later, she bought her first house. Last year, Savi was named Tradeswoman of the Year by Boston Women in Construction. So very excited to learn from Savi tonight. And also Marilyn Rosa, who is a carpenter in Springfield's Carpenters Local Union 336. Marilyn began her career through a 1-year pre-apprenticeship program called NEW, which is short for Non-Traditional Employment for Women, in 2009. In 2010, she started her apprenticeship in New York City in the Carpenters Union. In 2016, she moved with her family to Springfield, where she continues her path as a carpenter while also advancing her learning through a scholarship with the Carpenters Union. Marilyn became a journey-level carpenter in 2020 and is now working towards an associate's degree in architecture and building technology with the goal of earning a master's degree in architectural engineering at Wentworth. This summer, she will be working on a grant-funded research project on sustainability in construction. She enjoys volunteering in her community as a teacher and a carpenter through organizations such as Habitat for Humanity, NCTE, Labor Troublemakers, and Sisters in the Brotherhood. So also excited to learn from Marilyn tonight. And also Linda Callahan, who is a senior project manager at Gilbane Building Company. Linda has worked for over 20 years in the construction industry, beginning as a student at Northeastern University, where she worked in the business office that oversees construction for the university. After earning her bachelor's in business administration, she went on to obtain a certificate in construction management and worked as a general contractor before joining Gilbane Building Company 15 years ago. At Gilbane, Linda has benefited from mentorship from other construction managers and has worked on many meaningful and challenging projects, such as building hospitals, cancer treatment centers, and schools. Linda says she could not imagine herself working in any other fields. And last but not least, Haley Basic, who is a project manager at Gilbane Building Company and also a lead green associate. Haley first started to explore the construction industry as a carpentry trade student at Greater Lowell Technical High School. Graduating first in her class, she looked to expand on her trade knowledge and went on to attend Wentworth Institute of Technology, where she earned her bachelor's degree in construction management in 2014. During her time at Wentworth, she completed 4 internships, 3 of which were at Gilbane, where she secured a position right out of college as a project manager on Boston's MBTA Green Line Extension project. After completing Gilbane's management candidate acceleration program and earning a master's of science in construction management from Wentworth in 2018, she was promoted to project manager. So normally I actually don't spend so much time reading people's bios, but I just found that all of these builders' bios were so interesting and just presented some interesting pathways, and we're going to learn more about them in a moment. Before we get started with the panel, I just want to remind you that there is the question and answer icon at the bottom of your screen. So as you're thinking and listening to the builders tonight, please type those questions in the question and answer. You might also think to James too, particularly if you're working on the contest, thinking about if James were your client, what questions would you have? So keep that in mind now. And now we're going to go into our Brady Bunch view. And are we a perfect Brady Bunch? Almost. And we're going to start the panel. There we go. All right. So first off, I just wanted for everyone to give introductions and just talk a little bit about what your interests were as a kid and how did you find your way into construction? You might also talk a little bit more specifically about what your job is for those that may not be familiar with it. Who wants to get started?
I'll start.
Thank you, Savi.
No problem. So I became interested in construction when I was a young kid. My uncle, who is a telephone workers for Verizon out of the IBEW, Local 2222, and I have uncles out of 103, the electricians. I just always thought it was cool to build things with your hands. And then my grandfather was a painter out of the DC 35 Boston local as well. So as a kid, I used to play around with electricity, and I'm like, till this day, I'm still shocked that I was never electrocuted from playing with it. But I've always had like this awe seeing buildings go up from the core with the iron workers doing the rebar to all the other trades having a part building it and putting it together. And then you also have like the project managers coming to help with questions and answers when something wasn't right on the print or something. They'd come and help fix the issue for us as well. So I decided that was my calling. Like, I didn't want to be a nurse like the rest of the family, the women in my family. I wanted to do construction. So college wasn't forced or pushed on to us. And I saw that my uncles and my grandfather did great in the career, the building trades. A couple of them are still working. I have cousins in 103. I'm the first generation in Local 537 because I decided to do my own path finally. And I also love what I do. I enjoy it. Waking up early in the morning. Some days are long. It could be 8 hours. You can ask to work overtime up to 12 hours that day. But it's awesome. You learn a trade, a skilled trade that can't be taken away from you. And then being able to work around other trades and you pay attention, like I'm very observant. I learned to like pay attention to carpenters doing framework. So I'm able to do something to my own house. That way I can save a little bit of money from calling somebody from Google. I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. The weather doesn't bother me at all. Wait, I'm lying. The sun does bother me when I'm working on the roof doing the cooling towers and the chillers. But the wintertime, I actually enjoy working in the wintertime in the fall because you get to wear all clothes and you can shed them if you get too hot from working. And I'm always busy, always learning something. There's always something different and new in the trade with pipe fitting. And also with pipe fitters, we're HVAC. So a lot of people think, oh, you're a pipe fitter. Either they think we fix all type of pipes. No, we do HVAC, we do heating and cooling. There's 2 sides out of local 537. There's the side, the pipe fitter side I'm on, and then there's a refrigeration side. And both programs are 5-year programs. And then you have to become licensed with the state to journey out. Also, a lot of people get us confused with plumbers as well, because both of us do, we both use copper pipes, but I enjoy it.
Thank you, Savi. You make it sound enjoyable too. Even waking up early, I'm sold. Linda, you want to go next?
Thanks, Kellyanne. So Linda Callahan, again, Senior Project Manager with Gilbane. I wouldn't say that my passion for construction came as a child. It was a little bit later in life, right? I think I was so focused on like getting through school and going to college and, you know, I'm going to get a business degree. But at some point it was like, well, what am I going to do with that degree? And I was fortunate enough, as Kellyanne mentioned earlier, to work at Northeastern University and watching all of these amazing construction projects happening around us. And they were being, you know, facilitated through the office that I was working for. And so then I just started like really getting involved with, you know, how it worked, how the whole process worked. And I said, I think I need to do this, right? So I shifted my gears and said, well, I'll stay working here and go to school nights. And that was how I was able to achieve the construction management certification through Northeastern's program. And then from there, it was time to like get out and start using it, right? And I think one of the best parts of my job is that it's ever changing. It never gets stale, right? We're on multiple projects. We are working with so many different people. You, like, your Rolodex is just growing, right? Because I am basically going to move from this project to the next one, and it's gonna be a whole new team, you know? So again, like, there's no complacency with you know, what you're doing. Perhaps someone might say, well, you're a project manager, your job is still the same. It is, but it isn't, because it depends what the deliverable is, right? And what we're working on. And also, again, the interaction with, you know, the clients. And we'll talk a bit more about that later, but I just, at this point, right, having done this for so long, I couldn't imagine having to do a job that didn't afford me all of these great learning experiences, building these great relationships, having the opportunity to see so many things happening and be like involved, right? And it just, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And I think it would have been far greater if, when I was younger, I knew that I had this interest, because I really think that I would have gone the trade route in lieu of the construction management route. But it wasn't something that they were promoting at that time for you know, not only women, but just at that time period. I think the focus was just, you know, go to school, go to college, and vocational learning wasn't as big as it is now. And STEM definitely wasn't as big as it is now. And so for me, I feel like it's important to participate in being an advocate for these programs so that we can get more people involved at a younger age. It's really important. So thank you.
Thank you, Linda. And you're a people person too. So I know that that helps with your people person skills.
Thanks, Kellyanne.
Dr. Fope, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. Well, for me, my dad is an architect, so I spend most of my after-school days on construction sites or in his architecture office. So I think gradually with exposure, I gravitated towards design and construction at a young age, fortunately. I was very good at technical designs and drawing in high school. So, you know, naturally, I thought I would be an architect, and that's what I wanted to go to college for. But quickly, I found out I'm not very creative. I can only do like squares and rectangles. So I was more interested in construction means and methods. And then over time, with the advancements in construction technology, that became my area of interest. And I was so focused on that as well. So that's been my journey. I think it's just been early exposure through my dad is what really got me into construction in general, and just understanding my strengths, knowing very quickly I am not an architect, I don't know how to design. That made me focus all my energy on the means and method. And just generally, I'm very passionate about interacting with the younger generation, letting them know the different pathways that they have with construction. It's not one straight line. There's several things that you could do. And I think that's what prompted me to become an educator and focus on the next generation coming into the workforce, exposing them to the new technologies and the different opportunities that they have. So that's been my journey, and I'm very excited to be here today.
Thank you, Dr. Fope. And you're selling yourself short with your creativity, because I've seen you make a mean marshmallow tower with students at the Technology Center in Boston. So
yeah, that was fun.
Youth brings out the creativity, right? Haley, do you want to go next?
Sure, thanks, Kellyanne. Hi, everyone. As Kellyanne mentioned, I did start off my career as a vocational high school student. I really loved the idea of, as Savi said, building something from raw materials and kind of seeing things come to life. It's something that has always resonated with me. At a vocational high school, typically when you go your freshman year, you're able to try a bunch of different trades. So I was able to try, plumbing and a bunch of different, I did machine fab and all kinds of different fun stuff. But I really fell in love with carpentry. And I did carpentry for my rest of my 4 years there. We had some awesome projects. We helped out around our city, building, we built desks and cubbies and stuff for our local YMCA. But we also were able to build a house project our senior year on our high school campus. And that's really where it all came together for me. I was like, oh my God, this is where it's at. Everyone's working together, and here we are, everybody, we did the framing and the siding and the roofing, but, we were working with the other trade students, the HVAC students and the plumbing students, and the painters came in, and we were like, wow, like, look what we did together. And I think that's where it really clicked for me. So for me, I really wanted to go to college, but I wanted to preserve the trade knowledge that I had under my belt. So I found myself at Wentworth pursuing my construction management degree. And from there, it's gone from there, right? Working at Gilbane now and managing some projects. So right now, I am a project manager at Gilbane. I am a part of our special projects group, which handles a lot of our private tenant fit out work. So it's a lot of office work. And currently I'm working on a really cool project in Cambridge. We're doing a 4-floor office fit out for Apple. It's a really nice space, a lot of high-end finishes, a lot of beautiful millwork and glass and all kinds of nice finishes going in. And my day-to-day we'll get into a little bit more, but as a project manager, I'm looking at our budget and material deliveries, and I also take on a scheduling role on our projects as well.
Thank you, Haley. And your story really speaks to the power of vocational education too, which, as Linda noted, is, I think, a little bit more popular now than it was when I was in high school, a little after Linda was. We went to the same high school. So last but not least, Marilyn, do you want to share with us a little bit about your background and how you found your way into construction, and a little bit more about your job too?
Sure. Well, I'm like total opposite. I wanted to be a cop first. And I was actually ready to go into the NYPD. And then I had my son, and he was a type 1 diabetic. So I had to dedicate my life to him. And I decided not to be a cop because being a cop would take up all my time. So with that being said, I dedicated my life to him. And after 6 years of that, I decided to go back to school and try to be a nurse. I thought I was an expert now in diabetes. So I wanted to be a nurse now. So I went to nursing school, but unfortunately, my son still needed my attention. And I was called away a couple of times, and I had to leave the school because you can't miss 1 day of nursing school because you won't learn anything. You can't even miss an hour because it's very crucial for you to learn everything, like not miss anything. So I had to, that career was just a downfall right there. And I stumbled onto New. And when I stumbled onto New, I didn't realize how much of a passion I had for working with my hands and how much of a green thumb I had. And so I was like, wow, this is like amazing. Like I found my passion. Like I just loved getting up early every day and learning the different trades. And I was like, this is where it's at. And then carpentry, woodworking, it just called to me, like it was just screaming my name. So I joined the carpenters union right after graduating from U, and I became a union carpenter, which was like the best decision in my life. It was life changing, and it's continuously to be life changing. I'm now a journey level carpenter, and I do general construction, which means I do sheetrock, concrete, finish work. I do panels. I do exterior panels. I do interior panels. I do floors and hardware. So I love the choice that I made in general construction because I'm always doing something different. I worked on the MGM project in Springfield, and I I did the whole casino. I did the exterior, the interior. So it's like I had my hands on everything in there. So it's just amazing. Like being a carpenter is just a great decision that I've ever made. And I just wish a lot of other people had the passion for their occupation as I do.
I love also how your story speaks to continuous learning. So we hope to hear a little bit more about that later too, how you're continuing to grow in your career. So thank you everyone for sharing your stories. My next question is just thinking about going a little bit more deep into what your typical day looks like in your role. Marilyn, do you want to continue?
Sure. So my typical day is getting up at 4 a.m, stretching, getting my lunch together and hitting the road at 5 a.m. Arriving at my construction site where we have a powwow or a safety meeting. A powwow is where your foreman and your coworkers get together and talk about what has been done and what needs to be done. And a safety meeting, basically, it's like once a week, determining the job site. And they basically talk about what's the safety for the day. So like it could be fall protection one day, the next day it could be beware of obstructions and electrical outlets and stuff and things that are out, and like if they're gonna have a blow test or something, like these exits will be closed. And that's basically what my day consists of. And then after that, we do, oh, this is the most important thing. Then we go off to building, reading our blueprints and bringing our blueprints to life, as I like to say.
Very cool. Haley spoke about that too, that's one of her favorite parts of her job too, is seeing blueprints come to life.
Life, yes.
Savi, did you want to share a little bit about what a typical day looks like for a pipe fitter?
Sure. Same thing as Marilyn, waking up super early in the morning, getting my coffee together, my lunch together, making sure my husband and my toddler is all set for the day as well. On the road and I'm usually at the job site about 15-20 minutes early for a 6 o'clock start time. We do the stretch and flex. We get together, do the toolbox talk, as Marilyn had said already, which is safety. Today was about lifts, the correct way of operating lifts, and because we have to be certified to drive them on the job site. And we have our blueprints already, and our foreman usually sets us up. We usually work with partners. The pipe fitters, we usually work with partners. So I'm teamed up with 2 other guys. This week we're on the roof putting together the Victaulic pipes, because we actually have a crane day Saturday, which is going to be a 12-hour day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Landing our cooling towers, our air handler units, our ERUs as well. Then usually our typical days from 6 to 1:30. We're out a little early, but we do take our breaks as well. Yeah, we get our stock together, make sure, like when we read the blueprint, we always make sure we count how many 90s we need. Sometimes we'll just grab 2 extra just in case of whatever stock we get. And then we just go ahead and start working away. We do a lot of testing with air, water as well. We drain the systems out. It's such a busy day. Sometimes you forget like the time, and then we wrap up and we get to go home safe back to our families the way we left them, just a little bit dirtier.
Very cool. You're a master of elements with air, water. Sure, you use fire at some point too.
Yes. Oh yes, fire too. We do have firefighters because we do have welders on the job. So just in case if a spark, they're there on hand. They have to be there.
Very cool. So it sounds like, so Haley, you're on the scene here. Like, what are you doing while all this is happening?
I'm also in the 4 a.m. crew. So anyone who thinks just for the trades, it's not just the trades. You know, I'm up with Marilyn and Savvy. I think we should all jump on a call on our commutes. But you know, I'm on site at 6 a.m. as Savvy mentioned. You know, at Gilbane and a lot of the contractors out there, we do stretch and flex. I'm sure James will back us up on how important it is to stretch and flex. You know, doing construction is a physical activity, and stretch and flex is one of the first things that we do to get everyone's mind set on safety tasks for the day, but also to help us, you know, loosen up to prevent any soft tissue injuries for the trades who will be, you know, doing a lot of lifting and whatnot throughout the day. You know, I'm working alongside our pipe fitters and carpenters. We have quite a few pipe fitters on my job. Actually, we have chill beams going in. I might need to recruit Savvy. I want to steal her for my job already. But you know, and a typical day for me, you know, I'm on the other side, but I'm in constant communication with our trade contractors. You know, if there is issues in the field, if there is issues with the details that they have, you know, I'm on the forefront of getting them the answers they need so that they can keep on moving. You know, I am constantly in communication with our project superintendents who are running in the field to track material deliveries, costs, and making sure that we're hitting our scheduled dates as well. You know, and every day, you know, I think, you know, a few of us have mentioned safety, and I've seen some mention of safety in the chat, but, you know, one of the big things that, you know, I'm on a constant lookout for on our job sites is safety, to make sure that it is clean, to make sure that the conditions are safe, to make sure that our trades have everything that they need to be successful and to go home safe to their families at the end of the day. It is extremely important, but also to walk around and, you know, and to just remind them, you know, sometimes a lot of folks, like, you know, we're in the motions of getting everything done. And sometimes people forget their glasses or their hard hat or their gloves. And, you know, we're there to walk around and to remind them, hey, like, you're coming off a break. Like, can you tie off in your lift? Can you make sure you have your hard hat on? Or if you're cutting something, do you have a shield? Or do you have the right gloves for the work that you're doing? So, you know, we constantly keep that conversation going in the field just to make sure, you know, we're all there to remind each other and to work together. You know, I mean, construction can be very dangerous. So safety is a big part of what I do as well. And then, you know, I'm sure some folks have listened into the other webinars that, you know, I'm sure you've done your Ask the Architect and Ask an Engineer, and I'm on the phone with my architect all day. You know, we're constantly solving issues and talking about, you know, anything that is in the design, how we can make details work better, and get it done out in the field. So it's a little bit of a crazy teamwork, fast-paced environment, but we're all there to work together.
Thank you, Haley. And all the talk about safety makes me start to think also about technology, and just thinking of ways that maybe technology could make the work safer, is making the work safer. And that's actually my next question, which is, how is technology changing the construction industry? I'm going to send this one out first to Dr. Fope, because I'm sure she has tons of thoughts on this.
Thank you, Kellyanne. Well, I think we can all agree that the construction industry has not been very quick in adopting new technologies, but fortunately nowadays all of that is starting to change, given that there's so many opportunities for technology to improve construction businesses, most importantly safety, right? So construction is known to be a very hard, difficult task, and that has been known to put strains on our bodies and our health. And with exoskeletons or other technologies, robotics and so on, those have been implemented to help with the overall quality of life of construction professionals. And there's also several other technologies available today, changing the way almost everything is being done, right? So for example, new technologies are allowing for innovative materials and methods used in construction right now. So it's resulted in the development of more eco-friendly materials, right? We have recyclable concrete, for example, and carbon fiber. And this has enabled us to use other technologies like 3D printing and 3D printing parts of houses or parts of buildings. And we've even gone to the stage of 3D printing entire buildings, for example, whether offsite or onsite. And these are some of the things that are going on. And Haley had mentioned safety and ensuring that our PPE is being worn correctly. Now we're moving towards the stage of wearables or wearable equipment or wearable PPE, and it's become very popular. So we have smart helmets and goggles, boots and other wearable technologies that can track worker locations, right? And also measure any health stats, like working in heat. We have some of these that ensure they're protected from heat strokes, and they can send out signals in case of emergencies. And we have drones and robotics, laser scanners, and several reality capture technologies that have impacted how our sites, our job sites are being managed, how assets are being tracked, right? Estimating the correct material needs and labor needs for the project. So these have helped with low-cost surveys and just change the traditional method that we've been doing things. And then my favorite part, we have virtual reality and augmented reality. So we have all those cool tools as well that have changed how projects, job sites are being visualized and how projects are developed. So you no longer have to present 2D drawings to clients, for examples. And we've also moved from just 3D models. So now you can create immersive virtual reality experiences, enhancing design and planning of any construction project. And we have, with communication and collaboration, right, with construction, we have several multidisciplinary teams working together. And on the foundation of connected BIM, we have making sure everyone has access to latest drawings, relevant information, construction document sets, and 3D models. These are just some of my experiences with technology. I don't know if anyone can speak to it any better, but without any doubt, we've come such a long way, right, from drafting and 2D drawings and papers. And with these latest technologies, companies can now reduce overhead costs and increase efficiency, productivity, and safety. And that's a big win for the construction industry.
Oh, cool, Dr. Fope. You went from the materials to the immaterials so smoothly. That's one of the things that I tell students is materials is such a cool field of study to look into that I just never really considered when I was their age. Linda, I know you use a lot of technology in your work. Did you want to add to what Fope was saying?
Dr. Fope actually mentioned several of those components that we're actually using as well. And I'd like to just take it one step backwards. I can actually tell you how much it has changed in 20 years. Just getting information out on the street to bid, we used to do that manually by hand. So if you think about putting all of this information out to, say, at a minimum 5 contractors per discipline by hand, taking sets of documents, drawings, and specifications, having to roll them, put them in bags, and then label them so that you could ship them out, via UPS and FedEx. So that has gone by the wayside because we are using, electronic purchasing softwares now that allows us to upload all the information to a portal, and then the trade contractors get invited to go in and grab that, right? So it's real time, right? We're not waiting for them to receive the package. Did you get the package? That's gone now. We can do this instantly. It also allows for greater collaboration. Again, Dr. Fope said it, right? We're using project management softwares that allow us to speak with the trades as well as the design officials. The authorities having jurisdiction also have rights that our clients, our owners, and we use these portals to, again, put the information that everyone needs to be working off of that's current. And again, to ask questions and get answers all in one place, right? So it provides a warehouse that, there's no question about where you need to go to find the RFI, which is a request for information, or a submittal, which is going to tell the contractor they're installing these widgets or, things like that. So the other thing that I guess I can say about technology is even though it has been a slow transition, I find that they're making it better, as we introduce things, right? And an example for me personally is, back in the day, a PDF viewer, everybody might have just had one, program that they had to use, right? Because there wasn't anything else. And they've taken that so far now, advanced in allowing us to mark up our own documents, but again, store the documents so that it can become a repository for people to come in and grab information. So I think I echo everything that Dr. Fulpe said, because you've set it up perfectly for, again, how we use things. And I should also say that in this current time, as we move out of COVID, Zoom, Teams, all of these platforms allowing us to continue to do what we're doing right now. It allows us to have meetings with, multiple entities in this business, whether it's an architect, an engineer, a client, an end user, trades, our own internal staff. If for some reason, you're quarantined, you can still reach out and, we can do this, right? And if we weren't in the era that we are in, we wouldn't be able to do this. Could you imagine trying to do this by just telephone? It would be a whole lot different, right? And we have the ability to pop up our screen and share the data, and we're all looking at the same thing together and working together, right? And we do that when we're utilizing Revit or any of the other, we work and grow together in real time. So technology for me, extremely important and supports what we're doing all day, every day.
Well, I can see why, just from listening to you all, why it seems like a mindset of like continuous learning is something that seems common amongst everyone in the construction field. This like ability to like adapt and learn new things is one mindset. Another mindset that I'm hearing from you all is the mindset of someone who's a collaborator. And that kind of gets into the next question as well. How important is collaboration in making a construction project successful? In which other roles are most important in supporting your work? Haley, did you want to take this question?
Sure, yeah, I'll dive right in. When I was looking at this question, when I like to think of collaboration, I actually like to use the word teamwork. Myself, a little background about me, I've played sports all my life. So me, it's always been a team. And that's something that I push every day with my trades. Sometimes there's conflict on site, and sometimes, tensions are high, and I have to remind everyone, we're here to work together. We have to get over the finish line together. We are a team. Sometimes there are errors, and that's okay. And we have to work together to solve them. Or there might be, missing pieces of details in the drawings that we have to get through, and problems we have to solve quickly to stay on schedule. And I just try to bring everybody together and say, we're a team, we have to move forward together. Linda mentioned all of these different technologies that are out there now to help us collaborate and help us work as a team. Sometimes when we have issues, it's so easy now for me to throw a Teams meeting out there and get our foreman and our project managers from our subcontractors and our architect and our engineer and anybody else we need in the room on a call at any time of the day. Especially Teams has been great. We have functions where I can send little messages to my architect all day and we chat back and forth. And it's just great to have that constant communication. We're at a point now in the industry where it's just constantly flowing back and forth. And that's how we're really going to get, to the next step of being more efficient in the field, is just keeping that communication going as we're collaborating. In terms of roles that are important, everybody plays a role, even if we have interns on site, they play a key role in our team as well. But, everybody from the designers who give us the drawings to the trades who are working so hard to put the work in place and on time, on schedule, and safely, to the owner that's helping us coordinate what they need with their vendors. We are in constant communication with so many parties. We really have to kind of all come together and work as a team, and give everybody the chance to be heard. If they have issues, if they have problems, kind of bring everyone together and try to solve them in a way that everybody can work efficiently, safely, and obviously, get us towards finishing the project on time.
Thank you, Haley. Linda, do you want to add to that conversation around collaboration?
Sure. I think one of the other things too that sometimes folks might not realize is the community is also a big part of the collaboration that takes place on a project, right? And, with that, we are letting them know what's going to be happening, right? What they can prepare for in terms of a construction project, right? We're moving into their neighborhood, right? What's it going to look like for the duration of the project? How are we going to impact their traffic flow? You know, are there safety concerns that they need to be made aware of? You know, so again, that starts day one. And we listen to what worries them, right? And so that we can incorporate that into our plan. You know, again, designer, as Haley mentioned, the owner, you know, the owner of the project might not actually be the end user. So that's another person that we collaborate with as well, right? So our owner might be who's funding the job. And, you know, maybe their goal in implementing this project is a bit different from what the end user is actually going to take away from it, right? So those are different entities that we're collaborating with. The trades folks, as he said, our internal staff, you know, we're all, that team from beginning to end makes the whole thing possible. And each person is equally important. And, you know, facilitating, you know, an environment that welcomes all of those participants to the table too, right? And so again, the collaborators and everyone involved has a say and has, you know, something that's being taken care of, addressed, handled, you know, and how we do it together is, you know, certainly most important. We'd like it to be, you know, free from headache or problem, and we work together to solve those problems, right? That as collaborators, that's what we're all doing. So two minds are better than one, right? Two heads are better than one. So again, collaboration is extremely important when it comes to construction. No stone left unturned, right? We want to hear from everyone. So thanks, Killian.
You raised such an interesting point about the end user, that it's not just the owner, it's also the end user. It brings me back to thinking about Trevor's presentation as well. So that was a really interesting point. So hearing about collaboration, I've heard a little bit about communication. I don't want to steal anyone's answer on this question, but my next question is, what are some skills you use today that one wouldn't expect would be important to working in construction? Savi, I know that you had some interesting thoughts on this question.
I actually didn't think I would use as much math as I did. I've been out of high school. This year is 20 years. And before I got into the construction field, only time I did math is when I was the intake coordinator for healthcare doing birthdays. So somebody calls and gives me their date of birth. I would have to just do the subtraction of the day that they called to figure out their age. But now I'm just using a measuring tape, a scale ruler. I'm subtracting fractions, adding fractions, doing takeouts, things I thought I would never have to use. And then it's funny, like knowing measurement when I'm cooking too. Like it's just like, wow, like I never thought I would have to use that stuff as an adult. And I remember being in high school, I was like, what do I need this for? But I knew I wanted to be in the construction field, but I didn't think it was going to be this much math. And don't let the math discourage any of you to join either, because it's not hard at all. You go through your apprenticeship and they will teach you construction math as well. They will teach you how to read a tape and just ask questions as well if you don't know the answer.
When math is taught in this like real, like hands-on way, I think that some people like have a mathematical awakening that they actually are good at math. It's just they need to actually be doing the math like with their hands, because I'm that type of person. So I appreciate what you have to say about that, Savi. Makes me feel better about my math skills. Dr. Pope, did you want to add to this question about skills that one might not expect to be important to working in construction?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to piggyback off what Haley and Linda have said, right? There are several soft skills, or we'll call them attributes or people skills, that are very important, just as important as, you know, your technical skills that you learn along the way on the job site or in school. And these include personal attributes like self-management skills. You have to be able to manage yourself, your team, and your time. Emotional intelligence is really important. Stress management skills, right? So tension is quick to arise and possibly explode on the job site. So how do you manage that stress? And just general workplace professionalism, right? That's always important, and we try to impart that in students. And there are interpersonal skills with working with people and in a team, communication skills and collaboration skills, like we've said, and social intelligence. We have, critical thinking skills, problem solving skills, decision making skills, because in construction you're working with several people, you're working with a lot of subcontractors or different trades in a single project. So as a construction manager, you have to be able to envision the entirety of the project, see the project as a whole, and adjust work where needed, right? Especially when it's going to impact your schedule and your budget. So that really depends on very strong problem solving and critical thinking skills. And like we talked about technology before, with the increased deployment of advanced technology in the industry, it's essential to have technology confidence, right? Active learning comes into play here. You have to be technology savvy and be willing to learn and embrace new software, new hardware, new ideas generally, innovative ideas. So the combination of these soft skills and your technical knowledge that you learn along the way will contribute to being a well-rounded and successful employee when you go out in the job force.
Thank you, Dr. Pope. And when I hear of all these different skills that you're talking about, in one way, it's like, oh, that seems so overwhelming. But in another way, it's making, when you think about technology or you think about social emotional skills being really important, I feel like it makes the industry a lot more inclusive to more people as well.
Exactly.
Thank you, Fope. Dr. Fope. You earned it, Dr. Fope. All right, so another question that I have is thinking about our audience tonight. So as a high school or middle school student, what should I be doing right now if I want to work in construction in the future? Marilyn, did you want to respond to this question?
Yeah, sure. So I would say focus on a trade, see what you want to get into, like carpentry or pipe fitting, electricians, iron workers, engine operators, and basically like Haley and I did. We basically touched fields with everything, and see what you like most, what makes you feel passionate about it, because that's a plus. You don't want to get into this industry and then not like what you do. Then you're not going to do a good job, So, like I'm a carpenter, you're going to get a good building because I love what I do, and I'm also skilled in. The Carpenters Union sends you to school for 4 years to make sure you're a skilled carpenter. You get paid good money to produce good work. So that's a plus about union carpenters. They're well educated. And never stop educating yourself. Get as much certifications as you can. If you could get it for free, get it. My union gives me certifications. I'm like, I'm in there. Hey, we're giving this out. We're doing this. I'm getting it, regardless if I need it or not. And I might need it in the future, but I'm also learning about it. So, like, I know how to drive a lift, a low. I have a lot of certifications under my belt where in the future it might help me in another industry. And also, if you want to be an architect or engineer, it doesn't mean you cannot look into the trades and become a carpenter or an iron worker, because you're going to get a little more enlightenment and you'll get a little more incitement of what you're going to be building as an architect or engineer. Now you're going to be like, hold on, how would a carpenter think, or how would a laborer think? How would people in the trades think about stuff like this? Because we do hit a lot of bricks and a lot of concrete out there, and we're like, oh man, why didn't the engineer see that, or why didn't the architect see that? Like, I'm not knocking any engineers or architects here. Please don't kill me, okay? I'm just saying, it just you don't have to keep focused on just that. You could also, get into a trade and then eventually branch out into architect, or either or, go backwards, whichever way you like. Just know your focus and get into it. Like Savi said also, I wasn't good at math. I didn't know I was gonna be a carpenter. That's all we use is math. You know, it's like you can't get away from it. You know, I can't like skip this class because I need to know these measurements. You know, don't be afraid of it. Just acknowledge it and you know, just use your brain as a muscle and continuously to work it out by educating yourself in the things that you know you're gonna need in the future. And if it's free, take it. Take it now. Take the certifications while you can.
That is awesome advice, Marilyn. And I just love also the passion that everyone is bringing to their work as well. Haley, did you want to add to this question as well about thinking about being a high school student or a middle school student? What should I be doing right now if I want to work in construction?
Absolutely. You know, if you're a middle school student, like I would recommend, you know, if you have aspirations to go into a trade, I would definitely consider looking into a local vocational high school. Being able to go to a technical high school, as I mentioned, is going to set you up as your freshman year. You typically can try a few different trades and then you settle on one at the end of your freshman year, and then your sophomore, junior, and senior year, you continue to build on that one trade. It might be carpentry, it might be plumbing, it might be HVAC, it could be automotive, it could be any different type of trade, masonry. You know, even painting and whatnot too. They have all different kinds of trade options. So, you know, if that wants to be your path, you can go right from there. Those schools have great, you know, opportunities for internships and also great partnerships with the unions as well to get you right, you know, to use some of your hours towards your union membership as well. Now, if you are in high school, it's also not too late. You know, I mean, as Marilyn and Savi mentioned, you know, they had different career aspirations before they landed on their current position. So you can always look to join a union. You can, you know, there are programs like Marilyn mentioned where you can try different trades and eventually go into the union. You know, the unions are going to provide that training to you. And also, you know, vocational schools as well. If you have aspirations to be an architect or an engineer or a construction manager, you know, they do have, you know, your AutoCAD classes and whatnot too to get prepared for those. But when Marilyn said something really hit home for me, and especially with, you know, there is a trade shortage right now. And I think it's so important to encourage young people to go into the trades, even if you have aspirations to be a designer. To have that building knowledge, it is so important. And a lot of the unions have partnerships with schools like Wentworth where they will actually send you back to school. So, you know, you could be right out of high school, joining the union, making a ton of money with no college debt, and they'll send you right to school. You know, there it is. You know, that's the equation. And you'll be able to, you know, continue your education and graduate and have that knowledge. It's so important. And, you know, there might be younger kids out there or kids who might not be sure where to start. Look for different clubs. Look at Habitat for Humanity. Get involved in your local community because you never know, you know, working with your hands where that's going to lead. And as Marilyn said as well, you know, we are forever learning. You know, there is always a new certification. There is new things to learn on the job site. Is as a degree, there's new certifications to get every day. And it's one of those things where, you know, you're going to be learning forever and you want to make sure that you are passionate about it. So, you know, falling in love with a trade or a career in building design and construction, you know, there's so much opportunity, but finding where you fit in on that and then expanding on it is, it's quite a journey.
Thank you, Haley. I do have one last question for all the panelists. We are running a little bit short on time, and I'm thankful to all the students that are sticking around. So if you could even keep this to like a sentence, it could be a metaphor. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a concrete noun. Sorry, I'm becoming an English teacher late at night. So my last question is, describe something you have built that makes you feel most proud. Dr. Fope, do you want to start? You're on mute, Dr. Fope.
That's a tough question. I will describe something that was most fun and memorable, maybe. That one is easier to navigate. But sometime in 2017, I worked on the new Star Wars and Toy Story attractions in Disneyland. That was my first time using virtual reality on a project, so developing visualizations and safety trainings. And that was just really cool and really fun. So that's the one that comes to mind right now. I mean, it's Disney, so.
Well, Disney and VR, you set the bar.
Exactly.
Awesome, Dr. Pope. Savi, sorry.
One, I actually, this is a tough question. So basically my pride and joy would be what I used to have to hear my uncles, my cousins, and my grandfather always say when they went by a skyscraper. I helped build that. So I did Encore Hotel from the casino in Everett. We drive by that. I helped build that. Cambridge Crossing, Parcel H, that's up. I helped it. So any tall skyscraper I've been on, I helped build that. So that, like, I wouldn't say I have one specific one specific place. It's just any, like, Troy, Boston, Ink Block, all those, anywhere off the highway. Now I know my family's sick of me here saying it to them now.
Why I thought of this question is when I was in high school, I had a friend whose father worked in construction, and every time without fail, we went by this like particular hotel that was in downtown. It was actually kind of by the aquarium. She would always point it out, and it's like, it would be annoying, but at the same time, so adorable. Like every time we went by, she was so excited to tell her friends, my dad built that, my dad built that. It's so cool, right, to build something that's going to be like permanent, that future generations will see. Haley,
exactly.
Oh, sorry, Savi. Haley, do you have one that you can share?
I do. In 2018, I actually relocated out to Western Mass, right in Maryland's backyard in Chicopee, to take a lead role on a $15 million freezer and cooler expansion for a distribution center out there. We had a very small team, and due to some turnover with our superintendents, I had to take on multiple roles. At one point, it was me doing just about everyone's job as we waited for the next superintendent to come, so I was managing cost and schedule, but I was in the field managing with the foreman. We had the plans, and we were putting metal panel up, and we were pouring concrete, and we were doing the roof, and we were setting units, and we were doing it all. And it was a wild ride, but it really allowed me to develop my project management skills, but also so many just soft skills, how to handle people. Dr. Fulbe mentioned like that empathy, having that ability to kind of, de-escalate situations and work together as a team is so important. And it really allowed me to develop that. And so, we had a great group of subcontractors and foremen that really kind of rallied around me, and we all worked together to finish the project. So that one is always going to be very special to me because it kind of threw me into the fire, and we came out good on the other side. So I was really thankful for our trade partners on that job to help us get over the finish line.
Very cool, Haley. Linda?
This one's easy for me, Kellyanne. I think you know this one.
Oh, I've been there.
The Dearborn STEM Academy. It's situated right in Roxbury. This project was so amazing for so many reasons. One is that the elements that went into this building were chosen with such care to allow for fostering learning through visual, walking through a space and having the capability to look above the ceiling and see the mechanical systems running overhead, right? As well as, clear glass visual into the mechanical space on the 4th floor of this building. Collaborative working spaces for the students and teachers to utilize, right? Real high-end technological aspects and elements that were brought into the space, again, to foster 21st century learning. The school itself was for grades 6 through 12. And again, it was eye-opening because of it, this STEM learning, which to me just fosters this, continuous construction industry that we're in, to say, come with us, learn this, do this, love this. And so at the end of it, when the students came through the doors, to see their faces was like priceless, right? And it's like walking into Disneyland and being like, what do I want to go on for? These children were so amazed by the product that we were giving them, and that like there's so much pride in that, you know. But again, nothing I've ever built, you know, until that time. And so I'm lucky enough to be building another school right now in Brookline, and I'm hoping when we finish that, you know, the deliverable will be, oh, we have company.
The children are our future.
Equally as rewarding though. It was something worth seeing, something worth being a part of, and I'm proud, very proud of it.
It's such also a great example when Trevor gave his presentation about like how, you know, building can promote public health, how a building can, you know, promote like socialization or like the environment. It's like, you walk into the building, it's like a building can be a teacher, like it can be a teaching tool, which is so amazing. I have a visual aid from Marilyn. So I'm going to share my screen for this one. So Marilyn, you want to take it away with your project that you're most proud of?
Oh, you're awesome. Thank you, Kellyanne.
You're welcome.
I really love this job because if you look on the lower left-hand corner and you see all those inserts there, I did every single one of them. This is a PSAC 2 building in Bronx, New York, 350 Macron Street. And it is now a 9/11 call center. I had no idea I was doing that. This is my first concrete job ever, and it's amazing. Because you see, if you look again at the picture in the lower left-hand corner, I built this 3-story scaffold with my partner that was 6 feet tall. So that was kind of challenging as well. My first job, my first year as an apprentice, I was on all my tools and it was exciting. This system was called the Doka wall system, and it was on hydraulic lifts. So we only built the other side of the wall, and the exterior side of the wall went up as the scaffold went up. So we only built the other side, the inner side, and we poured the concrete 18-inch thick. So it's like a castle in there. It's so thick. It was built for like missiles not to penetrate it. Also, there was a lot of machinery on it. So we had to put special sheeting on the floor, which was one of my most exciting like job, because I had to put these little cubes everywhere. On top of the concrete, we put plywood, and then we put like this plastic paper, plastic rolls all over, and then we put these cubes, and it's like for shock absorption, so that the floor below you does not hear or feel any vibration of the machines above you.
Very cool. When I'm listening to all of you talk too, I think one of the other skills that hasn't been highlighted is attention to detail, which is clearly demonstrated in this great visual by Marilyn.
Thank you. I'm like so happy you put it up. I love this building.
It's so cool.
I do one of them things. I built that every time I go by it.
Yeah, you can do it too.
My mom actually lived out here in Massachusetts for like 16 years and visited New York once. And we was driving by. I said, Mom, I built that. She laughed at me. I'm like, Mom, why are you laughing at me? She goes, you didn't build it. I was like, Mom, remember, I started my carpentry in New York. I built that. She was like astonished. She was like, oh, okay. That's nice.
Oh, cool. So awesome. Well, thank you all for the formal panel. I do want to give, I know that students have stuck around. To some of you guys, it's really late for you too, but I want to give students an opportunity to also ask questions to the builders. So please continue. I'm going to just talk very, very quickly about the contest, but please let us know in the question and answer what questions you have for our builders tonight, and also any questions that you have for James. Just really quickly, the contest is called Make It Big. It's part of the Autodesk Make It Real program. You can find more information about the contest at autodesk.com/Autodesk Make It Real. This is Student Design Challenge number 3. Do not worry if you did not do Student Design Challenges 1 or 2, you can jump right in right now. Just really quickly, because this webinar is presented by Autodesk. If you're not familiar with Autodesk, we make software for people who make things. If you've ever driven in a high performance vehicle, or stood in awe at a skyscraper, or marveled at the infrastructure of a bridge, or the cool graphics in a video game or a blockbuster film, chances are you have engaged with something one of our customers have made. I also wanted to make clear to you, both teachers and students, that all of the software that you've seen demonstrated throughout the series most of it can be accessed for free if you go to this website and figure out if you are qualified to get the free tools. So it's about 100 of our tools can be accessed for free for both students and teachers. So this is included in the link, and you'll be emailed these slides as well. So just the gist of the contest, this is the third challenge. It's to present a game plan for how you would construct James Develin's gym. You must make it work for the environment, the surrounding community, and his budget. The way that we are assessing this contest is your attention to safety, detail, planning, and sustainability, and also your construction project management skills. You can create your own new design, but you don't have to. You can use one that you previously submitted, or you can reference a design that was submitted to the contest by someone else. So this is where you would go. You could go to this, this page with the winners, and also there's another page. This is the second contest. It's hosted on Instructables. If you click on one of the winners, this is one of the winners from the last challenge, you can check to make sure that it's okay to reference their work just by looking here. All of the entries are published on Instructables, and they all have information. Most of them, I would say, if not all of them, are you can reference them, but just check the license to make sure that it's okay to reference it. So your Instructable needs to include images, text, documentation. You can find out more on that contest page. Again, we also just want to congratulate the winners of the second contest. Again, it's really fun to look through all their designs, and that's the first step to entering this contest. So there'll be more details about how we're assessing it. So safety mindset, detail, planning, and also thinking about environmental sustainability. And also when we think about sustainability, how can you promote the well-being of workers as well? This contest is open internationally to students ages 13 to 19 years old. You need to look at the contest page to see full rules around country eligibility. The deadline is June 7th. Also know that if you're a resident of China or South Korea, you must be 14 or older to 19 to apply. The prizes, so there are 3 grand prizes. You could get a $500 gift card from CDW. 10 runners up will also be acknowledged with a cool prize kind of bundle of like t-shirts and stickers and other cool swag. Our friends at CDW have created this prize gallery for us that you could also choose from. So you could, rather than getting the gift card, you could get a 3D printer, you could get an iPad bundle, including like a stylus, for example. There's also a cool VR headset, that's a Lenovo one at the bottom. This is all linked to the contest page. Also, if you want to catch up on previous episodes, again, this is episode 6. It'll probably be up on the Autodesk Education YouTube, if not tomorrow, by Monday, and you'll be emailed a link to that as well. So this is where you can find it. Also, if you've loved this series, and we hope that you have, and you've found that you're interested in architecture, engineering, or construction, we do encourage you, if you're in the United States, to look to see if your area has an ACE Mentor affiliate. I know that particularly at Gilbane, there are quite a few people who are involved in volunteering for the program. So this is some contact information for the Director of the West for ACE Mentor, but she can help you find and see if you have an affiliate in your region. So this is the end of the formal presentation. We're going to go back to our Brady Bunch view. James is still here. I don't know if the kids are in bed yet. And we're going to just take questions that students have submitted. So Jenny.
Yeah, here we go. Can you describe your experience as being women on construction sites and how that's changed over time? Who would like to take that one? Okay, Linda.
Thanks, Jenny. Over time, let's see. So it has evolved quite a bit. In the beginning, we kind of got some strange stares, like, why are you here? What are you doing? Type thing. And once the folks you're working with realize that, you are qualified to be doing what you're doing, the attitudes change, and it opens up a dialogue that creates an environment, where we're all working together. So, but again, right, 20 years ago, things were a bit different. I can honestly say that now it's more typical to see females walking and working and living at these construction projects. So, and if they're not on our jobs, then you know, the outreach is certainly there to make sure that, you know, we're inviting them to the projects. We do a lot of community outreach to get the female presence on the job. And, you know, I think Haley can speak to that as well, right? We are constantly asking our female counterparts to come work with us, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I always like to say too that I consider myself very lucky. You know, there's a lot of women who have, you know, put up with a lot of stuff over the years, so that it is so that now it's such a more inclusive and welcoming industry. You know, there's a lot of women who were the trailblazers that came before us and made our place in this industry and made it acceptable for us to be on the job site and said, you know, we're not going to stand for any discrimination. We're here, we belong here, and we're going to contribute and work as a team. And I think, you know, that is kind of how it is now. You know, I've been very lucky. That project that I mentioned in Chicopee, you know, I think I was 24 or 25 years old. I was the only woman on like the whole project, you know, the whole team sitting with the owner and the client and their whole facility staff, our designer, our OPM, our trades, everyone. And I was the only one not only in the room, but on the whole job, right? And, you know, for the most part, you know, I did feel very welcomed. I have no issues. And I, you know, really contribute that to the women who came before us and were the trailblazers and really, you know, like I said, made it possible for us to have a place here.
Great. Anyone else want to share your perspective on women in construction sites and how that might have changed over time? Yes, Marilyn.
Sorry, I'm unmuting myself. So mine is really funny because this is how I always remember it. It's the porta potties, right? So when you're a woman on the job, there's only like no porta potties. You got to use the men one. So that's how you know you're like the only woman on the job. So as time grew, like there was more women on the job. So we got one porta potty and then we got two porta potty because it was more than one woman, more than two, more than three. And a funny story that you asked that question. Today I went to my union meeting and we went from 2% in diversity in women on construction sites to 7% now.
Wow.
So that's pretty huge.
And measured in porta potties.
Yeah, that's how I like to remember it.
Other questions, Jenny?
Yeah, any chance we could start to see houses that can be 3D printed in the metro Boston area anytime soon?
Fope? Dr. Fope?
That's very possible. I mean, anything is possible, and we have companies here who are working on that. Right? We have like Boston Robotics is what I can think of, but they do a really good cool stuff in that area of robotics and automation, and together with Autodesk in the greater Boston area, there's a lot of strides being made. How quickly that's going to become a norm is another thing, but I say don't knock it. That's very possible in the near future.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, we have one other question. This was actually for Trevor, but I want to open it up to all the panelists to chime in. What inspires you to work on your projects? Anyone want to take that one?
I'll go.
Okay.
What inspires me is the learning something new each day, the learning aspects, my family, my health benefits, my pension, my annuity, being able to pass on my knowledge that I've learned from journeymen who taught me from when I was a fresh year apprentice up until now, the tools and knowledge that I was given, I'm happy to pass it on to the next apprentice who will be help paying the journeyman who's getting ready to retire next week his pension so he can live a great life. And it's just the education, like that's what inspires me. Mm-hmm. Being able to learn something new about pipe fitting each day because something always changes.
Very cool. James, I'm wondering if you have any questions for the panelists.
Not any questions in particular, but I just want to relay how inspiring this has really been. I mean, my background, obviously, like I said, I was an engineer in college, and before that, I wanted to be an architect. And really through college, I worked for a environmental contractor as a laborer. So I kind of got to see it from the other perspective. And I vowed, seeing and experiencing that for 3 summers, I vowed that I would always kind of, if I use my engineering degree, to always have just a high level of respect for the people that are actually out there, boots on the ground, and applying all the things that the architects and engineers draw up and they imagine, and it looks great on paper, but then you go to actually do it and you run into problems and all this stuff. So I just have so much respect for all of you, and just so thankful that you guys are such advocates for construction as an industry. So thank you for your passion that you showed tonight. It's really inspiring, and thank you all for your time.
I feel like I could talk to you all forever, but I feel like I've kept you for so long tonight as well. But as the last episode of the series with James, I feel like we knocked it out of the park, not to use a different sports metaphor. I was also thinking about talking about marathons as well, but I think that this is a really awesome episode to leave off on. We look forward. I know that James always loves, he gets so excited whenever we get a new entry to the contest, because it really is authentically inspiring his work and his future project. So I want to thank all the panelists. I want to thank everyone who's here tonight live, and those of you who are viewing this on a recording later. Thank you for joining us. We are so inspired to see what you make. When we talk about the future of construction, we're not just talking about all the awesome things that Dr. Fope was talking about with drones and VR and robots, and we're all in Disneyland, but also we're thinking about you as students, and we see you as the future of construction, and we can't wait to see what you build together as well. So this is the end for now, but we look forward to seeing your work. Thank you so much, and have a good night, everybody. We can all do the awkward wave at the end as well. That's my favorite part.